Thanks very much for inviting us over to speak. We're delighted to be here. We had a good discussion with Nigel and Ian earlier, and there's a lot of common threads to what we're saying. What I would say is that in Ireland, we've learnt a lot from the UK of how to do things and how not to do things. And likewise, I think we've had, Nigel's spoken about Peter Rickaby has also been over to Ireland and shared his experience. So I would like to do is just to outline SEI's Deep Retrofit Pilot Programme, which is a government-funded programme. What it is, who is it for, what's the offer, the opportunity. I'll just provide some insights from the pilot today. We're moving at a pretty fast pace, and to give you one of the pilot examples. In terms of the vision and policy, government, I suppose when started, it was the ambition is to move to large-scale deep retrofit within the built environment and maximise energy efficiency, and you'll be used to these terms in terms of the technical, develop the appropriate technical solutions, consumer awareness and adoption, and the finance needs. So the Deep Retrofit Pilot Programme commenced in 2017 with an initial 5 million budget in 18 and another 5 million this year, as for the residential market only. We started with some guiding principles to guide the market as to what we meant. We've used the BER A3, and that's purely really to guide the market, and conscious to, that there are other elements which I'll talk to you about on that. And we use 150 as a guide in terms of the uplift. It's a whole house solution and energy efficiency first. So we really are driving the energy, the fabric piece in a responsible way, and also the deployment of the appropriate levels of renewables. So fossil fuels are not funded under the pilot programme. And in around, you'll see the health objectives, the need for mechanical controlled ventilation and good air quality, and to bring all those multiple benefits together was really, I suppose, a departure for us in terms of our grant programs, in that we were looking at, while mechanical controlled ventilation uses energy, it has a lot of other benefits around air quality and addressing some of the risks that Nigel spoke about earlier. And again, then to fill the picture, the BER provides a calculated starting point, and it allows the supply chain to focus on the solutions. But we were conscious that we needed to introduce monitoring as well at post-works to inform that. And there's a 3 years post-works requirement on all the deep retrofits. So in terms of the delivery of the elements, 50% grant is provided to start this process, commence the supply chain. So there's 50% grant on all energy costs. There's a minimum of 5 homes. We're keen to start to drive some scale, even at that small scale. There was an initial year construction requirement, and we removed that in lieu for an uplift guide of 150 kilowatt hours meter squared per year, just to get that depth, and it's typically around the C2 rating. And we also wanted to drive the air permeability, so we've introduced a minimum of 5 meters cubed per hour per meter squared. We introduced a 1% bonus there to drive a total energy cost, a total capital cost, to drive the 3 meters cubed, to start to move the supply chain over to where we want the solutions. It's an outcome-based program. And to help that along, it doesn't happen on its own. With 5% eligible cost in terms of project management, and 2% around design, and that includes BER, but again there's a broader context in terms of design and getting the design correct. There's a milestone payment, because obviously these projects require considerably more funds than it would typically be provided to the market on a kind of step-by-step measure, so there's milestone payments in place. The target market will look at the current BER performance. You can see that we're looking really to just to the G and the C3, and SEI estimated there's 35 billion of spend up to 2050, and from our figures we'd say it's higher than that, and it's 1 million homes. And just to kind of resonate with some of Nigel's points as well around the value proposition, really, what are we offering consumers? Well, really, it's a more comfortable home. It's a healthy home. It's increased value of the home. It's the order of a new home. It looks like a new home. I think all those aspects are very important because it drives a lot of the multiple benefits, and the evidence base will come in due course on that. Obviously, starting the challenges here on this are the lack of service providers or solution providers, let's say, in the market. There's the confidence and skills to move to the deep retrofit. So, we've standard recommendations 54, which has been informed by some of the UK insights, the Bomfield report. All those pieces are important to get those skills in place to deliver a quality product. And then the time to form to target those A ratings and to bring that whole house solution together typically takes about 3 to 4 months in the Irish market at the moment. All service providers will have gaps, all of them, and a lot of this is joining the dots to get solutions on the board. And the consumer awareness, it's really to convert the technical language into consumer digestible language so that we're offering those health benefits, air quality. They're the outputs. That's what we're selling. It's not the insulation or it's not the systems. It's really what does it mean to their lives. There's the technical solutions. Nigel mentioned those. There's various technical solutions, and some are more challenging, particularly the heritage buildings, in completing those in a responsible way. And then the finance models. So I'll share some insights with you on that in terms of how projects are typically funded. Insights to date, when we started, I suppose in June last year, there were 43 deep retrofit homes. You can see the development there. It's moved. We're starting to get more coverage around the country. Some counties have 1 or 2 homes, but it's enough to get points and to get some solutions there on the board, and we're learning, I suppose, as we go. So you can see now there's 222 homes more recently, and the market is responding positively, so we're seeing continued interest. In terms of results to date, this is purely from the BER perspective. We're seeing 9 A1s, 53 A2s, 152 A3s, and really it's just to show that we've shifted from really poor performing to really high performing. Again, the data monitoring will inform that picture. So those 240 homes have equated to 7 gigawatt hours energy saving and calculated saving, and 2 kilotons of CO2. So it's quite a deep upgrade. The average uplift in the BR is 416 up to 55 post work. So you can see there it's in the orange and the F grade, right up to just close to the A2. And you can see the shift from, say, the poor performing ratings to the really low energy performant ratings. There's quite a mix there. So there's from the Gs, the Fs, E1s and E2s and the D2. So we've quite a mix in there, and we're trying to target all those performance areas. In terms of reduction in the CO2, we see average pre-works is 113 kilograms of CO2 meter squared per year. Post-works reduced to 10.4. Again, that's calculated. And there's an average saving then of 103. In terms of air tightness, to drive really the comfort side of this, we've introduced the 1% incentive to drive towards 3, and you can see the result more recently has begun to shift air tightness down to less than 3. And obviously with that there's a requirement for mechanical controlled ventilations. That's mandatory on all the pilot projects. And then from the homeowner insights, because this is important, what are they saying? So they're saying, okay, the level of grant is important, but there's different drivers. So for young clients, they're trying to future-proof their home, and they're looking for an opportunity to move to deep retrofit. Older couples want comfort, so there's different drivers for the homes, and it's important to be aware of those in terms of building the value proposition there. So again, we asked homeowners. There's also the importance of research and longitudinal type studies on this, but I thought it was interesting to get homeowners' perspective on this. And they're saying before and after works. Well, before the air was damp, and it was quite drafty, but afterwards the air was dry and there were no drafts. And then we looked at, well, what about the temperature? And they were saying that it's uncomfortable and too cold to comfortable and just right. And I suppose it's important that we get those perspectives. And again, as the evidence base emerges, I think that will fill the picture there. In terms of the benefits, 94% answered that their home feels less damp. Interestingly, 53% of the householders noticed that they're using more rooms in the house. 76% feel the value of their homes has increased. We've seen a number of studies on that, and I think that's an important element of it. And 69% don't have the heating on as much. If we look at the health benefits, because we look at this from multiple prisms, well, 35% find that they've had fewer trips to the doctor, and some would have had serious chest infections and now no longer have those problems. And I've spoken to some of our Irish service providers here today and have spoken anecdotally about other cases where occupants have had fewer trips to the doctor. 94% of the air in their home, they're saying the air is healthier. And again, the evidence base, we're working with University College Galway in building the evidence base on that. In terms of contractors and the solution providers, well, the three main reasons is to develop their business and to grow capacity, to gain competitive advantage, and environmentally motivated. I think that's more that they're aware that the consumers are more environmentally motivated. So that's it's kind of an interesting drivers there. In terms of the success factors, we're saying the whole house solution is all important. The level of funding by SEI at the moment to the Department, Communications, Climate Action, the Environment is very important. Support from the SEI team. So we technically review all the projects to ensure that the solutions proposed meet requirements, and there's some learnings there too. And the end-to-end project management. This is really key because in providing the technical solution, all of that needs to be digestible from the consumer. So, and communicating that in a very simple way is very important. And trading energy credits. So if energy suppliers are required to show savings, and they're built into the offering. So I kind of talked to you about that in terms of the finance. So it's a 50% grant at the moment, and there's up to 10% related to the energy credits, because we take the pre and post BER. The uplift there is calculated in terms of credits, and that's typically brings 5 to 10% in terms of additional funding for the consumer. And then in terms of the finance packages, we're beginning to see service providers who have an arrangement, say, with material suppliers or finance organizations, beginning to see the lock-in effect for consumers and how they can offer a long-term offering. So it's very early days on that, but again, I think we're beginning to see a picture emerge. Yeah. In terms of, I'll just share with you a pilot project that was completed near Dublin. Starting point was E2, and again, just as a metric, it's kind of a useful indicator for the consumer. They can understand the starting point. 357.67 on the grade, 1983 to 93, concrete hollow block, oil boiler to start with. Solution afterwards, wall U value is 0.2, main roof 0.13. All of these you'd expect to see in a low energy building. There's centralized demand control ventilation there. Heat pump in this case is the solution. It's typically the case. High efficiency heat pump. Fully integrated controls. Air tightness in this one was 3.8. And 1.5 kilowatt peak solar photovoltaic. Here's the before and after. And you can see the uplift there, and it's quite a big saving. But I think the key to this really is, what do the consumers think? And I'll just share that with you in this short video.
We bought a 1970s house, and it was 1970s in every sense. There was a gale blowing through this house, and actually one of the guys who came to do one of the surveys commented as well on just how cold and how much more expensive it was going to be to heat this house. So we had bought this house with the hope of doing the deep retrofit, and we'd hoped to get it to an A3 rating.
We got a deep retrofit done, all the windows, external doors to be replaced, external insulation to be done, roof insulation, a heat pump put in, a ventilation system. The radiators were replaced with low heat radiators. So that the whole system combines to create the balance system that we have here today. It's been much better than we even imagined, really. You know, we'd heard that it was comfortable, and we heard that it was the thing to do. I suppose our main motivation, possibly if we were truthful, is probably the environment and the climate change side of things. Secondly, then we heard that it was, you know, we make cost savings over time, so we said, well, that's great as well, a bonus as well. And then thirdly, we'd heard, you know, that it was comfortable, and we hadn't really thought that much about that.
So it's very comfortable in every room in the house, and every room is the same. There's no more arguments about close the door after yourself, you know, were you born in a field comments are a thing of the past. The strange thing about waking up in this house is you've never any idea what the weather's like outside. Because as soon as you wake up in the morning, it's the same temperature as when you went to bed at night, as it is at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You can walk around here in a t-shirt. On the coldest days of the winter, we could walk around here and no, you didn't have any extra layers on because it just never changes. And it is a strange thing. It's a strange thing to get used to. But then you really notice it when you go into other people's houses now, even after this short period of time, you know, you have to, it's a little chilly in here. You get spoiled very, very quickly. My husband would be teasing me all the time about the fact that the hat and the coat could be on an hour after I've come in from work in the evening. But here, yeah, I do take them off straight away. I never dreamed I'd be able to have an A-rated house. You know, it wasn't in our big plan. In fact, I was saying to my husband, look, this is pie in the sky stuff. We're not going to be able to do this on our budget. We're extremely thankful that we were in the pilot scheme and we got that opportunity. And I only hope that that scheme can be rolled out to loads more people.
That's it.